Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about Frenkie de Jong because this whole situation between the Dutch international and Barcelona and the medical staff and his injured ankle and surgery and not surgery and his possible return date, it's become very murky over the past couple of days. It was starting to look clear and now it's looking murky once again, and this situation could get a lot worse before it gets better in my humble opinion. Because Frenkie de Jong was set to come back against Girona or against Monaco in the two games right after this international break. Against Girona, that's on Sunday, and Monaco is a week from tomorrow in the UCL. That's when we were supposed to see Frenkie de Jong back on the pitch for Barcelona for the first time in nearly 5 months, or actually more than 5 months at this point. Is it more than, whatever. For the first time in a long time, we were supposed to see Frenkie de Jong against Girona or against Monaco on the pitch for Barca. But then a report came out about a day back that Frenkie de Jong is not going to play against Girona or against Monaco. Those are off the table. That is not fucking happening. He's not playing against Girona or against Monaco. And now there is no fixed date for his return. We don't know when he's set to come back because he's not even training with the team yet. He's still training on his own. So we went from thinking that Frenkie de Jong was going to make his return in one of these first two games after the international break to now we don't have a clue. It's up in the air when Frenkie de Jong is actually going to be on the pitch wearing a Barca kit once again, playing for Hansi Flick. And it's been widely reported over the past couple months that Frenkie de Jong has refused to have surgery on that ankle, and Barca's medical staff has pushed Frenkie de Jong to have surgery on the ankle. And because of that, another report came out, and this one really put me on high alert. This will really put my antennas up, that Frenkie de Jong is now developing a distrust with Barca's medical staff because of the advice that they're giving him. He's becoming skeptical of what they're saying to him. You know, he doesn't like the advice that they're giving him in regards to like what he should do with his body and his ankle. And when that starts happening, when an athlete starts to develop distrust and become skeptical of a team's medical staff, that is not a great sign. And I would not be shocked, honestly, this might be a hot take, but I would not be shocked after that report, which I believe is true because Rashad tweeted it, and he's very good at filtering out credible reporting when it comes to Barcelona news. If that report is true, which again, I believe it is, I will not be surprised if we don't see Frenkie de Jong ever again play for Barcelona. When an athlete develops distrust for a team's medical staff, that is never a great sign, and that almost never ends well. The two examples that I can think of the top of my head did not end well. One is in the NFL and one is in the NBA. Obviously, American sports, I'm not sure how many of you guys keep up with that, but I'll give you guys a brief story. Trent Williams in the NFL, one of the greatest tackles of all time. He got misdiagnosed by his team. He never played for them again. Kawhi Leonard, the most famous one in my opinion. He got diagnosed by the Spurs. He had a swollen knee. They said, "You're ready to play." He said, "No, I'm not ready to play." They tried to push him onto the court. He said, "No, I'm not playing," and he never played for that team again. It's very hard for an athlete to build that trust back up with a team once they feel like they're putting their interests ahead of the player's health. Because again, that player, that's his body, that's his whole career. And the team is just really looking out for themselves. It's no different than a corporation, okay? So for me, I'm always going to be pro player. That's just the way that I am. I'm the biggest Barca fan you will find. I will always be pro player. On almost every issue, I am as pro player as you will find because I will always back the player because those guys have one body. They have one body, okay? So if Frenkie de Jong does not feel comfortable having surgery on that ankle, no one should push him to have surgery on the ankle. And if you want to, like, look, I'm a Barca fan. I'm selfish, obviously. I want to see Frenkie de Jong back on the pitch because I believe he's a very, very good player. But if he doesn't want to have surgery on that ankle, he should not have surgery on that ankle. And I think Barca fans are being too harsh with Frenkie de Jong and have been since he got to Barcelona. People are upset. Look, Frenkie de Jong is one of the most polarizing players that I've ever seen at Barcelona. Most Barca players right now, if they're not from La Masia, they're super polarizing. They either love him or hate him. I mean, it was the same thing with Rafinha last year. Most people, a lot of Barca fans hated Rafinha. A lot of Barca fans love Rafinha. It's the same thing with Frenkie de Jong. A lot of Barca fans love him. A lot of Barca fans hate him because they don't like the wages that he's on. Again, I'm not going to resent the man for making money. Okay? I'm not going to do it. These corporations, these teams make billions of dollars. Frenkie de Jong was offered a contract. Again, a lot of it is because it's deferred wages because he doesn't actually make that much. He's not supposed to make that much a year, but they couldn't pay him because of COVID. So he's making deferred wages, and fans hate that. And again, I understand that you're mad because that's obviously the wage bill is becoming increasingly higher because of Frenkie de Jong. That's not his fault. Bartomeu, the fucking dumbass, offered him a contract, and most people's goal in life is to make as much money as possible, especially when you're an athlete and you have a small window to maximize your earnings. So I'm not going to resent Frenkie de Jong for making as much money as he wants. Okay, bless him. I hope he makes even more money. So again, people are mad because of that. People are mad because on the pitch he never shows up in the big games, and you know he's always injured. I understand the point about the big games. Frenkie de Jong does seem to fail to show up in the big games. In the UCL against in those games when we got knocked out of the group stages and against PSG, he wasn't great. In the UCL in the Europa League against Man United, he was fucking awful in that second, like, especially at Old Trafford. So I get that. Okay, I understand why people don't like Frenkie de Jong because sometimes he goes some big games, and also he's never really healthy. I mean, the story of Frenkie de Jong's career is immense talent. We obviously saw him at Ajax be so amazing under Erik ten Hag. And obviously that whole Ajax team was so good. And then since he got to Barca, he's shown flashes, but he's always hurt. So I understand Frenkie de Jong is very polarizing. A lot of Barca fans, no matter what happens with Frenkie de Jong, they're not gonna like the news. They're gonna always fucking hate on him. So I get that, okay? I'm not naive to that. I understand how Barca fans feel about Frenkie de Jong. But again, you cannot push a man to do something with his body that he does not want to do. And I understand why he's developing distrust with Barca's medical staff. Frenkie de Jong got hurt against Federico Valverde. You know, him and Valverde collided in the El Clásico. His ankle fucking did a whole 360 basically. That ankle was fucked. It was a gruesome injury to watch on TV. We all thought he was going to come back in a month and a half for the Euros for the Netherlands. He missed the Euros. Sorry, I had to burp. He's missed the first 4 games of the year for Barca. He's been out for, like I said, 5 months. He's been out of football for 5 months. So there's something strange going on here, in my opinion. Again, there's something weird going on behind the scenes. I don't have sourcing in Catalonia. I'm not friends with Frenkie de Jong, believe it or not. You know, I'm very popular, but I'm actually not friends with Frenkie de Jong. And so I don't know what's going on, but this looks like a weird situation to me, and I'm sure most of you guys can agree with that. Again, I gave my opinion on the whole situation with like his ankle and whether I think he should have surgery or not. I gave my opinion on Frenkie de Jong, the player. I believe he's a really, really good player. But now that we're actually talking about like this whole saga, it's starting to look weird because I don't know what's going on with Frenkie de Jong. There's something going on behind the scenes between him and Barcelona that we just don't know about yet. And we're probably going to find that out a little bit later on in the season or maybe next year once he's gone from the team. Because I don't see Frenkie de Jong being a Barca player next year, and like I said, I would not be shocked if he never plays for Barca again after developing this distrust with Barca's medical staff. I would not be shocked. I promise you, I will not be shocked. I think Frenkie de Jong, when it comes to on the pitch, I think he's a really, really good player. But this is one time that honestly, believe it or not, I gotta admit I've been wrong, and I'm doing actually a 180 myself. I think it'd be better for Barca to get rid of Frenkie de Jong. I did a video a couple months back, like 3 or 4 months back, and talking about Frenkie de Jong and why I think he should stay, because I think the talent is so overwhelming, and I'm always going to be a guy that banks on talent over everything. And Barca fans want to deny it, but it's true. If you go back and watch some of the games from last season, in the beginning of the season, Frenkie de Jong was our best player in most of those games. He won a bunch of man of the match awards. He was fucking amazing in a lot of those games. Okay, so when he's on the pitch, he's really, really good, and this is a guy who we're gonna probably need this year because he has his profile is something that Hansi Flick is really, really gonna like, and we need deeper midfielders, and Frenkie de Jong can play deeper. But again, I think Barcelona should cut their losses and you just sell Frenkie de Jong, sell him for whatever you can. You know, 2 years back, Barcelona and Man United reached an agreement for 75 million plus 25 on add-ons. I'm pretty sure. So it was like, what's that gonna be, like almost 100 million for Frenkie de Jong? Or 100 million exactly, maybe it was less than that, but it was going to be over 80 million for Frenkie de Jong, and obviously Frenkie rejected that and he came to Barca because I think Xavi wanted him back. And you know, when that happened, I was happy that he was staying, but now looking back at it in hindsight, I think, and Neil Gardner made this point, by the way, on Twitter. I'm not trying to steal someone's stake. He actually made this point, and when I saw it, I was like, you know what, he's right. That, you know, in hindsight, it looks like, you know, Barca should have let him go. He should have gone, and that would have been better for both parties. Because this whole situation between him and Barcelona has become so toxic, man. And now it's involving the medical staff and you know, some of the higher ups at the club. It's just not looking good. It's not looking good for Frenkie de Jong. It's not looking good for Barcelona. It's not looking good for when he's going to return. And again, like I said, guys, when a player starts to develop that distrust with a team's medical staff, that is never a sign of good things to come. It's never a sign of good things to come because, again, the player feels like they're putting their best, the team is putting their interests ahead of their health. And you know, if there's a reason, I'm sure Frenkie de Jong is getting advice and he's getting second opinions, and he doesn't believe he needs to get that ankle repaired. And I think Barca fans should just accept that. There should be more. There's a human element to these people, bro. You know, like we see them as football players, but they're also human. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why he doesn't want to get surgery on the ankle. He believes he doesn't need it. So again, Barca's medical staff, they could be the best doctors in the world, but if he doesn't want to do something with his body, he should not be forced to do anything with his body. If he doesn't want to have surgery, he doesn't have to have surgery. If he wants to have surgery, he would have had it months ago. So again, that's just my thoughts on it. Again, you guys can disagree. I know there's a lot of people who always back the team over the player, their team first. I'm not that person, okay? Because while I do love Barcelona, I see it as the same way I see corporate America. And this is kind of like a lens into my political views, I guess. That's just the way that I am. I see it the same way that I see corporate America. I'm always going to back the employee over the corporation. Always. It does not matter what the fuck it is. Most of the time, actually, unless it's something egregious that the employee did. But most of the time, I will back the employee over the corporation. Most of the time, 99% of the time, 98% of the time, I will back the player over the team, over the club. Because the player, again, they have a short window to maximize their career, and he thinks that it's in his best interest not to have surgery. And I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody that they should have surgery. I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody that they should make less money than what they do. Because, again, these teams, these corporations, once again, make all the money. So it's only right that these players make money as well. And Bartomeu offered him that contract, and he accepted the contract. If you got offered $30 million a year, would you accept $30 million a year? I'm sure you would. It's really easy to sit here on your high horse and say, you know what, I wouldn't do that. I would put the team first. But then when you have a check for 30 million a year sitting in front of you, it's kind of hard to reject that. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's very hard to reject 30 million a year. If I made 30 million a year, I would make this video and I would use my penis as the mic. Honestly, I would. I would cut it off and I use it as a mic, and then I would just pay for another one to get a bigger one. Actually, this time I would go ahead and get a penis enlargement and get another penis installed down there. But I would make this mic would have a sack, and it would have, you know, I'm getting graphic here, but you guys know what I mean. So again, Frenkie de Jong, I don't know if we're ever going to see him play for Barca again. Again, selfishly, I want to see him on the pitch, but when I look at him, and when I look at the human element and the player, I understand that, you know, it's his career and he wants to do what's best for him. And if he doesn't trust Barca's medical staff, and this means he never plays for Barca again, then it's actually not been a great ride. It's been a decent ride so far, and I wish him nothing but the best wherever he goes. But again, I will not be shocked if Frenkie de Jong never plays for Barca again after that news. But again, I could be wrong. I think I'm going to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. And I hope to see Frenkie de Jong play for Barca under Hansi Flick, because that's something that I'm really looking forward to, man. I was looking forward to watching Balde under Hansi Flick. I was really looking forward to watching Lamine Yamal under Hansi Flick. And I was really looking forward to watching Frenkie de Jong under Hansi Flick. Those are the three players I wanted to see the most under Hansi Flick, because I think that their profiles that he could really maximize. And we're seeing with Lamine Yamal, and also Balde's played a lot better. And I want to see it with Frenkie de Jong. But again, if Barca's medical staff continues to give him this advice and he feels like they're not acting in his best interest, and I think for Barca, it'd be better if they sold him too. I don't know. There's a lot of clubs that are going to want Frenkie de Jong, because again, the talent is still there. It's still the same guy. Like, it's not the same guy that was at Ajax, but that potential is still there. And Frenkie de Jong is not old by any means. He's still entering. He should be entering theoretically the prime of his career. So good for Frenkie de Jong, and not good for Frenkie. What the fuck am I saying? So I think Barca should go out and cash out on Frenkie de Jong. What the fuck do you mean good for Frenkie? I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. So I think Barca should go out and cash in on Frenkie de Jong, and they should just put this whole relationship to bed, because since he got to Barca, it's been really toxic. It's been extremely toxic since he arrived to Barca. And it's just, I don't think it's going to get better anytime soon, especially with this whole news coming out. But again, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. A very opinionated video from me. That's usually what I do. I have very strong opinions. I mean, most of my videos I do. But I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going to disagree. So if you do, I'd love to hear it in the comment section down below. And I love every single one of you. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace out.